Okay, brilliant. Well, I think we'll begin now, so that we can stick on time. Once again, good morning, everybody. And on behalf of the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in the UK, I would like to wish you all a happy new year and welcome to this morning's webinar, which is on the topic of setting yourself up for success in turbulent times. So we're absolutely thrilled to be holding this session with Nieves Rodriguez, who is the founder of FastrackToRefocus, who are members of our chamber. Nieves has over 25 years of experience leading multinational companies in different parts of the globe. She's an inspirational leader with an excellent track record leading teams, launching startups, turning around projects, and in a nutshell, making things happen. She's a highly committed leader and life corporate executive, qualified coach with a strong focus on execution of strategy while capable of engaging individuals and leading teams. Nieves will begin this session by Nieves will be giving her presentation, and if you would like to ask a question in the Q&A part of the session, which will come after her talk, you can do so by using either the Q&A feature or the chat feature, or the raise hand feature, which you should see at the bottom of your screen there on the black panel. So brilliant. Now, without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Nieves.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join this session today and see if we can, do a good kickoff of the year and start the year with a positive mindset. And actually, that is the goal of this talk, because the 2021 is the year of hope, and but definitely has been a little bit of turbulent times as well during the first few days of the year. So today we are going, definitely, we are still going through uncertain times, and process and structural changes will be here for some time. And that's why we decided with Hannah to put together this talk and see how we can actually help the chamber members to really set up for success in 2021, because it is not just COVID, it is the reality we live in, and the reality as well is that we are going to do more with less. So knowing how to lead change and have resilient teams and organization is going to be key to have sustainable success. That is not doubt. More than 70% of change initiatives fail in an organization, and it's because the failure to mindfully manage change and lead in unpredictable times. And that's why we thought this was a good topic to start the year with this year. And on top of that, 50% of the times we are only productive, and only 41 of that time we focus on priority tasks. So can you imagine the cost for your company or the impact that on your results or the result of your team? This is why it's so important to build the resilient professionals that can not only adapt to change, but actually that they can drive change in your organization. Because in the end, success is created. A lot of my coaching clients ask me, well, is success actually created? Yes, success is created, and I'm sure you all know this. And what I'm going to do today is a super mini lesson and share with you the 7 simple steps that you can follow straight away when you leave today's session. I'm going to do my best, because success, as I mentioned, is created, and the truth is that our mind and our awareness make choices that actually take us to take some actions in our life, whether it's a professional or a personal life, and therefore we get some results. So the truth is our present, our life is not other thing than the result of our own thoughts. And you can also choose your thoughts, and that's a little bit what we are going to be talking a little bit today, because the more I work with my coaching clients, I realize that successful people are not made from different clothes. They ask themselves very specific questions. They create a plan and they are consistent executing that plan. And this is what we're going to be covering today. So we are going to be talking about change and crisis. We are going to be talking about leading versus managing, the difference between change management and transition management, and the 7 steps of productivity to help you success this year. Because I'm sure you've heard this a thousand of times, especially last year, that every crisis is an opportunity and change is here to stay. That is no doubt. Like Charles Darwin said, it is very important that we build that agile and resilient professionals and human beings, because it's not the strongest that survives, but the one most responsive to change. And I think during this last year, we have all learned this. So we are going to talk first about the challenge that most leaders face during this uncertain time. And actually, this is a big problem, because as you can see in a study conducted by Blanchard in 2018, 50% of the responders they felt that they could help the teams to embrace change and innovate. But only 43% felt confident managing change initiatives, and only 39% felt their teams were a good example of creativity and innovation. So, this is a survey in 2018, but pretty much I'm sure, it happens, across the different organizations that are attending this webinar. And the problem is that crises are more often overmanaged and underled. And let me explain that. Crises require you to lead and manage effectively. Managing has pace fast and focus on actions that are decisive and is the urgency of the present. However, leading by contracts involves guiding the people to the best outcome, and is focusing ahead to anticipate the 3, the 4, the 5 obstacles of 5 months ahead, or even a year, 2 years ahead. The most effective leaders in crisis ensure that someone is managing the present while focusing their attention on leading beyond the crisis. So you actually need to know how to lead and how to manage the crisis, and you need to know how to delegate in certain circumstances. So what are the common mistakes, and why 70% of the initiatives fails in our organization? The first one is taking a narrow view, because the human brain is programmed, we all are programmed to narrow our focus in the face of a threat. And I will talk a little bit about later, but every leader or you need to actually pull back during crisis and take that broad, holistic view of what is happening instead of that narrow view. That's one of the problems. The second one is that most of the people, they get seduced by managing. People, all of us, we often return to our comfort zone, and your adrenaline spikes as decisions are made and actions are taken. However, this is like a sugar high. I always compare it to a sugar high that is quickly followed by a crash. So leading through a crisis requires taking the long view, again, as opposed to that managing the present. You need to anticipate what comes next week, what comes next month, and even next year. And you need to delegate and trust people to do the rest. But as a leader, you really need to focus well ahead. The third one is over-centralizing their responses. The trap for a lot of leaders is trying to control everything. Suddenly, you are creating the new layers of approval for minor decisions, and the organizations becomes less responsive and creates a lot of frustration. And the frustration grows with each of the new constraints. So it's very important that you determine which decisions only you can make, and again, delegate the rest. Otherwise, you are slowing down your process. And, we spoke about this last year, but when you slow down your processes, your costs are higher and higher, which is the last thing you want to do during a crisis situation. And then the fourth one, but one of the most important, is forgetting the human factor. While it might seem obvious, but usually leaders focus on the changes and not in the transition. They focus on the results during change management, but not the people. So let's see what is needed to success implementing transition, because usually, again, we focus on change, but not the transition. So we need to lead transition, not manage change. So why is that we always interpret a change with crisis? So crisis, as you all know, is something that is an unstable situation, is an abrupt change, or what we interpret it as an abrupt change. And change is to become something different. That's all. However, the problem is that our brain translates change with crisis, with something that is unknown, therefore with danger. And as a leader, it's very important for you to understand, or even as a partner or as a father or mother, to understand how our mind works. That is in a very simplistic way. You probably heard about the term fight or flight, represent the choices that our ancient ancestors had when faced with danger in the past, fighting against the mammoths, etc., etc. And that's driven by the limbic system. The limbic system is the one that drives the emotions, the reactions. The problem we are facing is that many people translate change with danger. And this is where their limbic system is taking over, and they activate that fight or flight or even freeze response, and they get paralyzed. And unfortunately, 85%, as you can see here, 85% of the decisions are made by the limbic brain, by our emotions, and only 15% by the neocortex, which is supposed to be our analytical brain, the one that is good with numbers, the one that is good with language, etc., etc. So we need to manage transition because, again, if you see the percentage of the decisions, 85% by our limbic brain, if we only manage the change, we are talking only to 15% of our brain, and we really need to be talking to our limbic brain, to that 85% of our brain. So what is the difference between the change and the transition? Again, change is the external event or situation that takes place. It's the new business, the strategy, a turn of leadership or a merger or work that we all going through, and the change can happen very quickly. The transition, by contrast, is that the inner psychological process, and that is activated by the limbic brain. And that's the state that the people they go through with a new situation. And empathetic leaders recognize that change can put people in crisis. That's very important for you as a leader to understand. Change will only be successful if leaders and organizations address the transition that people experience during change, supporting people through that transition, through that process. So it's very important to see the difference between change management and leading the transition, because change is very fast, as you can see in this graph, but the transition is very slow. And this is where most of the organizations fail. They want or they need to go fast because of the situation, but nobody is dealing with that part of the transition. So we are going through these different stages. So we have 3 stages. Is the stage 1, which is the letting go, the stage 2, which is the neutral zone, and then the stage 3 is the new beginning. And every transition goes, starts with the end in mind. So the stage 1 is when people enter this initial stage or transition, when you first present them with change. This state is often marked with resistance, and people have to accept that something is changing or is ending before they can begin to accept the new idea. And as a leader, if you don't acknowledge those emotions that people are going through, you will likely encounter resistance through the entire change process. And this is what we were talking before. That's why 70% of the initiatives fails. Obviously, there are many other reasons, but that is one of the main reasons. The stage 2 is the neutral zone. Think of this phase as the bridge between the old and the new. People may still be attached to the old, and it probably won't yet be clear what the new is. But despite this, this stage can also be one of the great creativity and innovation and renewal stage. This is a great time to encourage people to try new ways of thinking or working. And then the last one is the new beginning. This It is a time to acceptance and energy, actual of energy. People have begun to embrace the change initiative. They are building the skills. They need to work successfully in the new way, and they're starting to see early wins from the effort. So a lot of the organizations, they are going through, this change or this transition. Probably, yours is one of them. So it's very important to understand at what stage you are in order to have the right approach with the team, because, in the end, they are the ones that they are going to drive the change. Because organizations are made of individuals. And during change, something that we need to acknowledge as leaders is that you cannot avoid resistance. That is a fact. We all have resistance, and if you think that that you don't have resistance to change, I invite you to question yourself, because that is the way our brain works. But it is the way. There are different ways to handle resistance, and that's what is going to make the difference. As a leader, you need to be aware of the transition, so you can actually help your employees to go through that natural resistance, and through an awareness of resistance, and get the right approach, or instead of getting unwanted results. Because in the end, organizations do not change, people do, or they don't. And you need them. We need them to actually drive that change. So now that we have understood how our brain works and how to lead transition versus manage a change, let's look at the implementation. And this is, I'm gonna be share with you 7 steps that are pretty much focused on your productivity to set up for success in 2021. But some of them you can actually involve your team, or even with your partners, or even with your kids if you have kids. Because in today's world, what is easier is to achieve productivity, but also it's harder. And it's harder because of the continuous interruptions we have, the distractions that we have, and the digital era that we are connected 24/7, 375 days a year, and also because we are doing more with less resources, because all our organizations are shrinking because what's happening. So it's more important than ever, these 7 steps. I talk quite a lot in my new book, Mindfulness at Work, because our attention is at risk. That is a reality. And, multitasking is a myth. Our brain can't multitask. We can move from one task to another, but that shifting, that microsecond, actually creates lack of focus, creates lack of attention, and creates lack of quality in our work. So it's very important to learn some of these tools that probably you've heard in the past, but I always say that the question is whether or not, if you know them, actually if you're putting them into practice. So let's get started. The first one, laser focus. For sustainable success, business is like preparing for a football game, I always said, or going to the gym to stay healthy. Is consistency is more important than that intensity. When you go to the gym, it's better to go 3 or 4 times a week than just going one day to the gym. This is exactly the same. The only problem is that we don't know when we will see the results, but we will do. But you need to have a laser focus on what is important in your business, or even in your life. So once you understand what is happening in the business and with your employees, as we mentioned before, and you have built that trust and connections with them, helping them to go through that transition, it's time to work on a resumption plan. Start thinking about bringing back the business. Learn about the market trends, talk to your customers, and do not assume, especially the salespeople, we make big mistakes of presenting the solution without asking our clients what do they need. So your resumption plan, work on it as simple but as specific as possible. area of business, responsible person, the goal, the timeline. Because going back to the 4 mistakes that we've seen before, this is actually one of them. People often focus on managing the crisis and the present instead of leading the change and leading the transition. So we need to see the months and the years behind to actually lead properly. A very simple step, but usually is overlooked and wrongly led because, again, usually we over manage the present. Probably I don't need to talk to you about the SMART goals. Though sometimes I'm really surprised that my fellow coaches or leaders do not know or do not act on the SMART goals. Probably you've heard about how to set up goals. Something that I will highlight here, and usually I don't see as often as we should, and especially now when we really need to stand out from the crowd, is I always add the D to SMART goals, which stands for discomfort. And do SMART goals, but always think about what you can do different this year. What can you do that you have never tried before? Because that's what the magic starts, out of your comfort zone. That's what you will start seeing different results. And please write them down. Don't keep them in your head, because first of all, it takes energy from your body and brain. But writing them down, you increase by 80% chances that actually you meet your goals. And you need to create your company and business plan or your goals, whether they are, again, professional or personal goals, based on your motivation. Again, now maybe you knew before about the limbic brain, but you need to set up your goals in your own motivation, not in someone else's motivation. And sometimes in organization or businesses, this is challenging, and I get that, but you always need to find a way how you can actually set up and follow your goals in a way that actually motivate you and motivate your team. Because of how the limbic system works, again, you're going to be taking decisions based on the limbic, and which is driving the 85% of your actions. So unless you have goals that motivate you, that motivate your team, they find what is in for me in their goals, it would be very, very hard to achieve them. And the essential rules for writing your plan is and most of the people fail is in the why and in the steps, but we will cover that later. The second point is reflect on what you have learned. This is another area where a lot of people that I work with fail, including myself. Sometimes you need to be an a student, in the sense of learning from your own experiences. We usually look at others to learn and inspire us, which is good, but our own experiences are our best, should be our best teacher. So I also suggest you to do this exercise, what I call EBI. And before you really get into 2021 plan, or if you already started, if you haven't done it, I invite you to do it. Ask yourself these 3 simple questions that I call the even better if. And you can also ask each of your employees or your partner, and even at home, your children, to do this even better if, which is very simple, but again, not a lot of people do it. So the first question, very simple, is what has worked? What has worked in previous years or in 2020 that I'm going to continue doing? What hasn't worked and that I need to change, I need to do differently, I need to tweak, or this is the D of the SMART goals, what I've never tried before and I will start doing. Get out your comfort zone. Again, this is where the magic starts. Very, very powerful 3 questions. And again, just few people, and before they start setting up goals, they stop and they look back and they learn, and it's very, very powerful. The third one is act on the important. We all have goals, but you need to differentiate between the goals and the widely important goals. And I somehow compare this quadrant on the left, the quadrant of extraordinary productivity, with the quadrant of my new book, which is the quadrant of the mental effectiveness. And probably you've seen this quadrant on the left, which is the quadrant 2. This is where you are aware of the important things, and of the extraordinary productivity. I'm not going to get into urgent and important because probably you've heard about this before, but the importance of this quadrant 2 on the left of the extraordinary productivity, and also in the mindfulness or being present, being focused quadrant, is this quadrant contains activities that are important but not urgent. The time and the energy you invest in this quadrant 2, or the mindfulness quadrant, is going to generate returns that are much higher that you put into it. It is the Pareto law that you probably heard before as well. So you will spend 20% of your resources and you will get 80% of the results by focusing on the important, which, because of the digital area, because of the technology, because of the distractions, and because of what is happening, and all these turbulent times is creating a lot of lack of clarity in our mind. We are actually moving away from that Q2 or mindfulness a quadrant, but it's very important that you stay there in order to achieve your goals. The fourth one is go for the extraordinary. When we think about the quadrant 2, that's important, quadrant, the productivity, our roles and goals, most of the time, or most of the people, we think of work. And in the end, we're holistic beings, and whatever we do in one area of our life will affect the other. So when thinking about 2021, I invite you to think about yourself as an holistic being. What are the most important roles in your life today? Roles are very fundamental to our human identity, that when we ask people actually to tell us about themselves, they always answer in terms of roles. I am an engineer, I'm a spouse, I'm a parent. The trick is to keep them all in balance. And I've seen a lot of imbalance, especially in last year. So hopefully this will help you to create balance, in 2021. The way each of your roles plays out in life affects all the other roles. Our brains usually organize information in categories like the roles. So organizing your life in terms of roles makes a lot of sense, and actually saves a lot of energy and gives you a lot of clarity. So this is another tool I'm sharing with you. Again, very simple one, but very, very powerful. I call it the wheel of roles. And I don't know if you have done before, but I invite you to take time to identify the few most important roles in your life today. It could be, spouse, teacher, leader, coach. Evaluate from, the second step would be evaluate from 1 to 10, how you think you're doing in each of them. What is the level of satisfaction today from 1 to 10? And do it on your own. Give it quality time. Nobody's there to judge you, not even yourself. It's just to, because if you don't know where you are, it's very difficult to improve. And then the third step is define what success looks like in each of the roles. I also suggest that you craft a Q2 role and extraordinary productivity or mindful role, a statement for each role, because this clarity about your roles and different areas of your life will give you a clear path to take the next step, to really have clarity of what is important in your life or in your personal life or professional life, and really take the next steps. I always say that goals should be ecological as well, meaning a goal in one of the roles of areas of your life shouldn't negatively affect the other. So that wheel of roles actually give you, very visual destination, and you can actually see whether one of your goals could be negatively affecting the other. So it's very important to be aware of that. Schedule the big rocks would be the fifth, and because when you have the clarity you need in all the roles in your life, you need to schedule the big rocks, because there's a big difference between thinking about what is important and actually accomplishing it. And I'm sure that happens to you. That happens definitely to me as well, because if we don't have a robust planning and disciplines and processes, and we are not consistent, and we don't execute what is important, then our role statement, our goals, generally speaking, they are just dreams or wishes, but definitely they are not goals if we don't have timeline, or we don't accomplish them, or we are not consistently following them. So the big rocks represent those important priorities in our lives, aligned with your roles, aligned with that mindful quadrant or that Q quadrant, in contrast with the gravel, which represent all those little things that fill up our lives, that I talk in my book as well, the emails, the phone calls, the laundry, all those less important things, and so on. So these things take time and attention away from the big rocks. So decide what is important and get those activities in the bucket before the week begins. And this is the execution part, the consistency part, that this is where a lot of people fail, because we all find excuses. So people find excuses, and you know what? At the end, Santa Teresa, Mother Teresa, she had 24 hours. Richard Branson, he had 24 hours. Obama, 24 hours. I guess Jody Bolson as well has 24 hours. We all have 24 hours. And because what I'm sharing with you, most probably you already know it, but it's not, again, it is not if you know it, it's whether you do it. And again, we all have 24 hours. So that clarity is very important to have it. And this is the common mistake now that we are in January. This is the common mistake that most of the individuals and organizations they make. They set up goals with very long timelines, and they don't have a consistent approach to support those goals. When they realize that they are close to their deadline, it is too late. This step is very important, because it's like our GPS, having that bird view, and that clear destination is very important. You need to know your destination, but the problem is that most of the people, they stop here. They know the destination, but only knowing your destination and that hope and that willpower will only get you pretty much up to February. That's how it actually it works. So actually, the willpower, the problem is that, as I mentioned, it only lasts when you have goals, whether that's personal or for your business. People get very engaged, very excited about the new scenarios, but the willpower only lasts until February. So what is the solution? The solution is that once you know your goals, once you have the clarity that where you want to get, your destination, where you want to get, and you need to work on that annual plan or life plan. I actually suggest people to work on the 10, the 5, the 3, 1, and years, and then 90 days plan. Once you have done that, even better if exercise that I mentioned before as well, the key is to have a consistent plan, creating habits around it. So work on reverse engineering, setting up your vision and your business plan, and work backwards. And as you can see on the slide, most of the people establish their goals and milestones from today, moving forward, and actually it should be the other way around. So you need to, establish some milestones. So if you have a goal, let's say for the end of April, once you have the clarity of that goal at the end of April, you need to set up milestones of what you want to achieve by the 30th of March, what you want to achieve by the 28th of February, what you want to achieve by the 31st of January, and so on. And this is, the reverse engineering. I call it reverse engineering. Very few people know about the system, and it actually works, because when your brain sees that the deadline is approaching to you, it activates the adrenaline at the amygdala, and it establishes an alert, and actually that actually helps you to take action. So, if you haven't done it, I highly suggest you to work on reverse engineering this year. And very simple, but again, only the things that are scheduled are the things that get done. So checking things down from annual, as we have seen, all the way down to the day-to-day, and ensure that every day and every week, you and your team, you are reviewing the goals, and you are doing something every day and every week that is taking you a step closer to that specific goal. And I call it the 30-10 promise. So create a routine to review the previous week every week. So for example, if you work Monday, Friday, I suggest you to Friday afternoon, sit down for 30 minutes and see how it went and plan your next week. That way you will relax during the week, during the weekend, and because that way also, because you're going to be decluttering your mind. And on Monday, it would be easier to go back to work to catch up because you already have that plan. And then this 30-10 promise is exactly the same. It's at the end of the day. Do the same for 10 minutes. Review your day and plan the next day. Just 10 minutes. Review how the day went today, and then plan ahead and tweak and do an even better if exercise and change and tweak whatever you think could be improved for tomorrow, could be improved for next week. And I call it this your holy hour. Or the holy 30-10 promise. My suggestion is that at the beginning of your day, take time for yourself. I call it, again, the holy hour, and think about your day. Visualize what you want to achieve and remove all the notifications from your phone, from your computer, from your WhatsApps. Absolutely no notifications whatsoever. Don't look at social media until you have 60 minutes of your time for yourself. Don't look at the emails. Because if you do it, you will be reacting to someone else's agenda instead of creating your own agenda for the day. Obviously, it really depends, depending on the nature of your business. But I can tell you that CEOs, the most successful CEOs, they don't look at their emails in the first 60 days, 60 minutes. Well, some of them maybe the 60 days. Then moment of choice, distractions and conflicting priorities as the most common causes of action addiction. Just briefly to let you know, we all have some kind of action addiction. And this is answering that WhatsApp, answering that email, and we all have that addiction because we feel good by taking action in something, even if that something is not important. And the action addiction is one of the biggest threats to mental effectiveness and productivity. This is driven by our dopamine, and action addiction takes away your ability to maintain clear priorities and work towards your most important goals. So, you can see here the symptoms and the consequences. So it's very important that, first of all, you're aware that answering that WhatsApp, answering that email is not going to take you, most probably it's not the most important thing you can do on the day. And when priorities conflict, you need to take really a breath before jumping to action, because we are all distracted, and you are not going to avoid distractions. You need to learn how to manage distractions. So recall your priorities and make a decision based, again, on your important goals, because when you have that clarity of mind, it's going to be very important to take that breath, recall priorities, and take action. And that action, as we have seen before, is what is going to actually create your results. And also pause and then get that moment of choice to really decide what is important for you, what is taking you a little bit closer to that goal. And in this graph, we will share the presentation, but this is in a graph that I actually share what you could be doing. So when you have those distractions, if it's something you don't need to do, just trash it. And if it's something you need to do, you can either fight it or you can act, and you can, put it on your weekly plan, or you can put it on your daily plan and change your priorities, because that's a fact. We'll have changing priorities. But so I hope this graph actually really helped you with that clarity. And the last but not least, the fuel your fire. That's very important, because our mode of life today, constant stress, poor diet, lack of exercise and sleep, actually leads to burnout. And there's been a lot of burnout during the last few months. By contrast, extraordinary productive people consistently recharge, and sometimes, most of the times, we don't really value taking care of ourselves and of our health. And there are 5 drivers of mental and physical energy. Very, very quickly before we finish. Move, especially now working from home. It is not just about exercise. Your body was meant to move, and take brain breaks periodically through the day. Get up from your chair at least 90 minutes, or to walk around, if it is just to go to take a glass of water, glass of wine, whatever. Eat. Just as you don't put dirt in your car's tank, you shouldn't put poor quality food in your body. The idea is to put nutrients that actually they are going to help you to function at your best. And again, it's very important in this new environment we are all living. Sleep. Getting a good night's sleep is not just enjoyable, it is vital to extraordinary productivity. One study, I'm going to share with you, one study indicates that individuals who had gone 17, 19 hours without a sleep perform like someone with half a percentage blood alcohol level. So showing up at work asleep deprived is like showing up drunk. So be very careful with those alcohol tests. And relax, definitely it's very important to relax and take those breaks, or even just breathe. Sometimes we don't have time even to breathe, and definitely when you breathe and you recharge, you see a direct impact in your productivity levels. And connect. Spending time building and maintaining a meaningful relationship is actually nourishing to our brain. We might not think relationship as a way of increased mental energy and productivity, but they are. So not only is the brain wired to movement, but it's also it's a social organ. So it's very important to connect, and that is proven, scientifically proven, that it reduces the stress level. So don't burn out. So the real the power comes when you have a regular pattern of life that honors all the 5 energy drivers. When you have a healthy pattern of movement, of eating, of sleeping, relaxing, and connecting, you're actually strengthening yourself as a complete human being, and therefore you can actually drive the change, and you can lead your organization and lead your teams properly. So to sum up and to set yourself up to success, as a mini lesson for today's, my suggestion is always remember to lead transition. Definitely we need to drive change, but we need to lead the transition. Focus on your area of control and control your productivity by focusing on these 7 steps that I've shared with you: the laser focus, the even better if focus, remember your Q2, your important, your mindful quadrant, have a clear idea of your roles in the different areas of your life. Take action on the important ones, and also learn how to manage distractions, and remember your choice point. You always have that choice point, and you can make the decision on what you focus. And don't forget about fueling your fire and take care of your health. So that's all for today, a mini lesson to set yourself up for success in 2021. And I think we have time for questions, Hannah.
Yes, and no, certainly. And also, someone's just asked if we're going to share the presentation, and if it's right with you, Nieves, we will afterwards. Yeah, I can send it around everyone.
Definitely. And sorry to interrupt, but I also have a very good handout about going through these steps. If anyone is interested, just contact me. I'm happy to share. It's kind of a handout working work document that it could help you as well. So happy to share as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Well, yeah, we can. Well, I will. Everyone who's signed up, I will share that with you afterwards. But yes, if you have any questions for Nieves, please can you send those in now. So Nieves, just to begin, one question that we've had is, what would you suggest to engage teams towards goals when they're working from home?
Wow. Yes. Very, very, very good question, because definitely we have been working from home, and I think we are going to be working from home more, in the next few weeks. Definitely something that is very important, as I mentioned, is to engage the team in the setting up goals. Because again, now that we understand how our brain works, it's very important to talk to that limbic brain, to that 85% of their brain. So we need to find a way to, first of all, get them engaged. That's the most important. So they need to understand what is in for me, regarding this goal, or where the company wants to go. So it's very important that you involve them in that decision making process to a point, but definitely they need to be engaged. Then I was said to do weekly meetings, catch-up calls, formal catch-up calls to see the progress of the team and see the progress of each individual, and combine them with informal one-to-ones. You always want to have formal meetings combined with informal, just catch-up calls, talking about their family, their lives, their health, and communicate. I think that is, if it's something during this uncertainty or turbulent times that we need to do more of, is communicate. Sometimes it's better to have a catch-up call and say, guys, I don't have anything to share, but I'm happy to answer questions, and avoid rumors or gossips in the office, among the team.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you very much, Nieves. Another question that we've had, which related to the services as you've been talking about. What type of coaching services are you being requested more often since the COVID pandemic?
Definitely change, organizational change, and change management definitely has been one of them. And, that we end up converting it a little bit to lead in transition. So, because again, you need to lead that transition and help employees to go through transition, to help you to implement change management or handle change management. So that's one. Priority management as well, not time management, but priority management, because again, a lot of people, they're doing more with less, and we need to be very creative. So there's been a lot of requests about priority and career development, outplacement. A lot of companies as well, they are helping employees that unfortunately they are losing their jobs, and they need help helping their employees with career development and outplacement support. Yeah, definitely, because of the situation. Yeah.
No, makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense indeed. Someone else has asked that they've seen you've got a new book on mindfulness at work. Maybe you could tell everyone a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's that. This is it. Yeah, this is actually mindfulness at work. And actually, I promised myself not to write a book because it's it's a lot of time. But being as Hannah said, you said, a leader during so many years, I've seen a lot of uncertainty last year, and definitely I felt like I needed to with my background of leader, with executive coach, and also a mindfulness master. What I decided is to write a book to really share with the organization and with employees that if we have mindful people, we could have mindful leaders, mindful organization, and in the end, a better world. And to really demystify that mindfulness is meditation, because a lot of people think that mindfulness is meditation. Meditation is a form of mindfulness, no doubt, but there is many other ways of mindfulness, to practice mindfulness, which in the end is to be present. And in the quadrant that I share, actually is about being focused and being aware, and that is and really developing or enhancing your awareness and your attention. And the problem that we have nowadays is that our attention is at risk because of, again, the digital area. We work in 24/7, the different technology. We are distracted every second. So as I mentioned, multitasking, it used to be a strength in performance appraisals. I'm sure you all had performance appraisals, and one of the strengths was to be able to multitask. And again, that is a myth, and now is a weakness, multitasking, because we don't have attention span. So and that book, what I'm sharing is mental strategies, very simple mental strategies that you can implement while working, while doing your email, while you are in your meeting, while you are communicating with your employees, when you are creating or solving a problem. Because again, mindfulness is just about being focused and present. So be 100% in the task you're actually doing in the moment. Very practical, because at the end of each chapter you have quick techniques to implement, and also there is a downloadable program, 8 weeks programs, for those that they want to go a little bit deeper of things and habits that you can implement every day. So, I think it has been very well received because of all what we're going through, and again, I had the feeling that a lot of employees and leaders, you name it, we need it, starting from me.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Nieves.
Welcome.
A final question just before we wrap up. Maybe you can just end by telling everyone a little bit more about the coaching services that you provide, and if you offer any members rates or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. I cover from very bespoke services from corporate and executive. So from individual coaching to executives, I look for big corporations, SMEs, for executive coaching, and also for team coaching. And again, as I mentioned before, I've done a lot about change management, leading the transition, and outplacement, and also priority management. And lately, I'm doing quite a lot of the mindfulness as well, helping teams to focus on what is important and the productivity. We do a lot of webinars and trainings as well, so not only coaching but trainings about, again, leadership, mindfulness, change management. And so we do all that, individual coaching and also team coaching, and also workshops and seminars, on those different areas. And yes, we do have, happy we can share it as well. We do have a members rate for all the members of the Chamber of Commerce, and happy to share as well with a presentation.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Nieves, for sharing that with us. So yeah, as Nieves has just said, thank you everyone for joining us today. And for all of you who signed up via the Chamber, I will contact you later, and I will share this presentation and the handout that Nieves mentioned, as well as that information about any special discount for Chamber members. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Nieves. I think that was a message we all needed to hear, particularly so early on in 2021. Yeah, and to see what the year ahead brings and what we can make of it. So thank you so much for your time to share your insight with us today.
No, it's always a pleasure. I'm here to help. So I'm sure if we do a little bit of this and a few other techniques, definitely it's going to be a much better year. I can't with
Fantastic.
that.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hope. Thank you so much, Nieves, and thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye. A good day and good year.
Yeah.